Howdy, Ags. This is AP from the Tailgate, home of the Aggie football. Brought to you by Bright Beginnings, preschool and early child development, dedicated to providing an exciting opportunity to learn, explore, and grow. Visit the website at mybrightbeginner.com or holler at Carrie. Folks, don't forget to email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. Send us a commentary on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We'll post some questions. We always do the questions, by the way. It's we got a segment at the end of the show. Yeah, questions from the tailgate. Here it is. Anyway, so if you haven't heard the show all the way through, you haven't heard the questions from the tailgate. They're there at the end. Some fan commentary. Yep. Cody Sher loves the mustache. Says, I will be known as Officer Favre until I get rid of it. I guess I am Officer Favre then. Definitely a compliment. Gunsmoke says that Haynes has touch on the ball, so he sort of disagrees with your commentary, like a lot of people do.
Watch Haynes King throw the ball.
Some new subscribers. We got Asian Persuasion, which appreciates the updates on the team. Bruce Cunningham, Christian Kirk. Will the real Christian Kirk please stand up? Please stand up. Thank you. Welcome Lee Cross to the YouTube channel also. All right, Corey, we're going to kick it off. So today, the preseason All SEC coaches picks came out for the All SEC team.
Right.
Aggies get a couple of guys on the list. First team, Layden Robinson, offensive line. Anais gets all-purpose back and return specialist. Nick Constantino gets the punter. First team punter. Yeah, let's try. Second team, Devon A-Chain, running back, McKinley Jackson, defensive line, Antonio Johnson, DB. And then third team, Anais gets another recognition at wide receiver. Ruben Fothery and Bryce Foster both get the offensive line. And A-Chain comes up again as the all-purpose back. So pretty good representation. Not quite Alabama, who's got 20 players on the group, but pretty good.
This doesn't make any sense. Antonio Johnson, first team AP All-American, is on the second team All SEC coaches.
Not real.
18 averaged 7 yards a touch last year when he touched the ball. Second team, they got who's the first team guy? The guy from from Alabama.
No. It's Bixby.
Who's the other one? Had two.
No, he's Gibbs is the second team guy with A-Chain.
That's still ridiculous.
So yeah, I mean that is ridiculous. First of all, not to mention Alabama having 5 defensive backs. I mean their secondary struggled some last year at times. They have 3 offensive linemen for an offensive lineman.
Defensive backs. That's like
So we know it's an all Alabama team. It's fine. At the end of the year, I think some of these names are going to change. Who do you think was missing for the Aggies?
Who was missing? Well, we talked to see Antonio should have been first team.
Yeah.
A-Chain should have been first team.
Should have been right first.
There's a lot of players that we don't know about that. I mean,
I think there's one guy that is clearly missing to me.
Cooper should probably. I think Cooper's going to be higher. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Damani Richardson. Damani Richardson should have been in the All SEC group. Probably second team, to be honest with you. The guy looks phenomenal. Absolutely rocked up. You can tell he's a fourth-year guy, been in the system. His decision-making is so much quicker, which makes him faster on the field. The guy is ready to roll. And by the end of the season, he should be right now a preseason All-SEC player. By the end of the season, he will be an All-SEC player. Other guys that could also end up on that list but still need to show it. You talked about Cooper. I like Chappelle. I think Chappelle will end up on that list at some point if he's healthy. And the freshman Evan Stewart.
I think there might be more freshmen than Evan Stewart. Once these guys get on the field, they start. Jones was on it last year. Wasn't Jalen Jones on the second or third team last year starting the season?
I think so.
Because he had all that hype coming in. Like, oh, man, you're not going to throw the ball his way. And the first 2 games, they didn't throw the ball his way. And then they started picking on him, basically.
Yeah, and he's got a chance for a recovery year. He may end up on that list as well. So
Yeah.
moving on from there, some NFL cuts. Aggies this week. So I think last time we talked about Watermeyer, he got cut by the Bills, but picked up by the Patriots. Leon O'Neal cut this week by San Francisco. I'm surprised by that. I think that guy's got heart. He's got energy. He's got a lot of things that I would love to have on my football team. And I wouldn't be surprised if somebody else picks him up here in the next couple of days. Kingsley Kiki, cut by Arizona. He's had some playing time in this league, and obviously, I don't know, maybe the Cardinals are just loaded up front.
Right.
Ryan McCullum, a guy that's one of my favorite guys from that offensive line a couple of years ago, cut by Detroit, but picked up by the Steelers right off the bat, and probably a pretty good pickup for the Steelers.
The Steelers seem to like the Aggies.
Oh, they Aggie offensive lineman specifically. Carson Green cut by Tennessee. I'm not surprised, but I mean, I sort of knew that Carson wasn't going to stick on a team. He doesn't do a very good job with his feet and staying on things, so I'm not surprised by that. A couple of other things, NFL wise, Justin Evans, former Aggie safety, great camp with the Saints after recovering from some of the injuries that he had in Tampa. He's looking really good. And then this thought. The Vikings traded for Mullins, the quarterback. Remember him? He had some starts out in San Francisco a few years back and played decently. Kellen Mond may be about to lose his job.
Not surprising. You have to call your boy Stroud and tell him about that.
Yeah, where is Josh Stroud, man? He would be partying even here. He would be partying. Josh will be here this weekend, by the way. So looking to get him back on the show. All right. Coming up, obviously we're only, is it 12 days away? 11 days away from our home opener, Sam Houston, playing at Kyle Field at 11 a.m., Saturday, September 3rd. First, full day of college football. Right. This Saturday, there's some college footballers, and there's a good game between Nebraska and Northwestern I'm excited about.
Yep.
Right?
I
am going to take Nebraska.
I think I'm going to.
Yeah, Northwestern is horrible. Anyway, but that's 2 weeks. And, during that same time period, UNC and App State are playing at the same time we are. We may going to need multiple TVs. Georgia and Oregon playing right after. So there's some big games also that weekend.
What's the spread on the A&M Sam game? Or anything?
1 million.
What would you pick the Aggies to win that game by?
40.
Really?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second.
Good.
Fall camp update brought to you by Carney's Pub and Grill, where the food is tasty, the beer is cold, and the women are hot. I love Carney's. We were just there a couple of days ago. We'll be there again this Saturday. Beautiful place.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. We'll probably be there earlier.
And I'll ever go for.
So an update here from camp this week. First, I think the first thing that I want to bring up is just the presence of the upperclassmen, because there's so many of these guys that are really performing at a much higher level and have taken such a step forward, even from just last year. And you talk about upperclassmen, you start with Damani Richardson, which we mentioned a minute ago. Obviously, Anaya Smith is in that group. But you got to get a lot further into it, right? Layden Robinson, who's getting a lot of praise these days in the national media. But Fidel Diggs is a guy that's been here for 3 years. Crown over the tailback's been a guy that's been here for 3 years. A-Chain's been here for 3 years, right? Cooper, been on campus for 3 years. Max Wright, another guy, right? And all these guys, White at linebacker, right? Jalen Jones. Antonio Johnson.
Miles Jones, yeah.
Miles Jones has been here for 7 years.
Yeah.
Maybe 17, I don't know.
Yep.
10 or 12, wow. Someone
doing a great job.
Doing a great job.
Get hurt every time we see him.
And I guess my point being is that, Chase Lane, right?
Jalen Preston. Chase Lane been here.
Jalen Preston, how long has that guy been here?
Yeah, they've been here forever.
And so all these guys that we're talking about, I mean, they are really showing up and bringing up the value of. We got a guy at the door here. Be right back.
Yeah. Somebody's at the door. Who could it be? It could have been a package.
We got a package from Amazon.
Got a package from Amazon. So maybe it's our season tickets.
Delivery tickets. All right. So I guess my point is that you get a lot of these guys that have been on campus for a long time. I think it just brings the level of success from your team up when those guys are the ones carrying that team, right?
Yeah, I got you.
And to me, that's a huge part of what I've seen in the last week of over there. Is those guys really have been dominating.
And you're going to see guys like Max Wright. We talked about him. How much playing time is he actually going to get with all the other new, more talented players coming in? There's 3, 4 guys that are fresh faces on campus that need to get on the field.
I think Max is going to be on the field a lot. I think he's going to be on the field a lot.
From a guy like Max,
yeah, because that guy's going to block. He's going to do a lot of the other little things for that team. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing as far as a guy like Crownover versus a guy like the freshman Moss, right? Moss has looked great with the ball in his hands. Unbelievably good with the ball in his hands. So as long as he's carrying the rock, good to go. But he's not great in all the other areas. And so he's still got growth, right? And for me, you'd rather have Max Wright that's going to block and do all the different things. Now, you're probably going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets also with Max and Jake, or Max and Theo, Max and Green, right? Maybe Jake and Green, some combinations. But Max is going to be on the field a lot. Actually, a lot like Fidel Diggs. Because Fidel is a guy that's really shown out here in practice this fall camp. He looks great as far as holding the point of attack, always being in the right place, keep maintaining his leverage, all those things, right? The way he attacks players, all those things, holding up. What he isn't is like this great, super explosive defensive end, right?
He's not getting downfield or upfield, whatever you want to call it.
So he's not going to hurt you. He's going to do great on first and second down, where he's going to hold up.
Right.
But on third down and passing downs, he's probably coming off the field for somebody that's going to be more explosive as a pass rusher. Either that or kick inside. But really, he's not more explosive than McKinley Jackson inside.
Yeah.
Right? So while he's done a great job, he's going to be a starter for this team. I think he also comes off the field at times in situations, right? Same thing with Max Wright. He's probably a starter, but he's probably coming off the field at times in certain situations.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Max Johnson's everything.
Well, Max Johnson's neither a starter nor coming off the field because he's not going to be on the field. A couple other notes: Foster's back practicing. He's got a lot of work to do because Wyckoff has been phenomenal. He's really showed out. Has played excellent this fall. I think Foster's got to get to his level before they put him back into the starting lineup.
Foster preseason 13 all.
Yeah, we just talked about it.
You're saying Wyckoff's going to beat him out, huh? At center. Just saying.
I'm just saying that he's coming off an injury, and if he's not ready to go, he shouldn't get the start.
No, I understand that.
That's what I'm saying. And what I'm also saying is that from what I've seen of Wyckoff this fall camp, he's playing better than Foster did last year. And so if Foster hasn't gotten that much better
last year,
I know. So was Wyckoff.
But the whole team as a whole is going to be better.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Either way, it's a good problem to have. Some of these offensive linemen, Aggie's having a great camp. Moko's getting better and better. But all those guys are working. And once again, good problem to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
A guy that you love that we never mentioned. Trainer.
There you go.
I'd love to see him get some matches. So
I don't talk about him enough at all.
No, we definitely don't.
I think that's what you.
Probably so.
Said the guy's stepdad or whatever. I beat Alabama, and you can't remember his name.
All right, so today we're going to talk over and unders. The last thing I want to comment from camp, though, before we go over and unders, is how. Look, we've talked over and over again about how good the secondary has looked, and the secondary has been phenomenal, right? Whether the corners, but the safeties. I mean, we live and die talking to Antonio Johnson, man. We love that guy, right? We just got into Damani and how awesome that dude is, right? And we love Chappelle. We think he's our best cover guy overall. we haven't even started to talk about, Jalen gets thrown out there on the other side, but we haven't even talked about, there's other guys. Anderson, the freshman. There's also Matthews, the freshman. Gilbert, the other safety, who's looked phenomenal, by the way. And those guys, Matthews. I mean, those guys. Smoke hasn't even come up into the conversation.
Yeah, right? You got so much this deep.
Dude, it's going to be impressive.
It is.
Because that secondary is amazing. And in spite of all those numbers and all that talent that's out there, I think the other thing that we fail to recognize is they give our wide receivers somewhat of a hard time, but our wide receivers are making some pretty good catches out there.
They are. And the quarterbacks are getting better, putting the ball in the tighter windows, or trying to at least. That's where the touch thing comes in. Gunsmoke. Another thing I wanted to bring up is something I talked to you about when we weren't on air, about what Louis said about our starting quarterback.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Louis believes that to reach 10 wins this year, we need to have Max Johnson. He thinks his ceiling is, I think he said 10 wins. He said the ceiling for Haynes King is 8 wins.
See, that's where Louis is a guy that has never coached or played football, right? So Louis knows nothing about anything when it comes to football. He's just a mouth, right, over there in Texas. Good thing he's got money because that's how he got started in this business. He just kind of bought his way into the, was the guy paying for all the players' meals back in the day at the bar too and drinks. So good for him.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So good for Louis on that.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is that Max Johnson is probably the high floor, low ceiling guy. High floor, low ceiling guy. In the sense that he's probably not going to throw a lot of picks, but you know what
he's the safe guy, you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he won't throw the interceptions.
Right.
Because he's going to hold on to the ball until somebody's wide ass open. He might take a few more sacks. He is going to take a few more sacks. He's also going to sit there and dink and dunk, unless the guy on the top is wide open, right?
See, something we haven't seen, we don't want to see. We won't see this until the season starts. Is their feet, how they look in the pocket. Are they poised? Are they sitting in the pocket waiting? Or, like you're saying, he's going to hold the ball. Is he going to get the happy feet? Is he going to do the calzada and just try to zip it in there real fast? Or is he going to, do a progression read? Is he going to?
He doesn't have that zip.
I'm not saying
his arm is not as good as Haynes. His arm is not as good as Connor's either, for that matter, right?
As good as arm as Connor's.
And he's not got a terrible arm. But here's the problem, Aggies remember Max Johnson as the guy who beat us last year. That's who they remember.
Right, of course.
That's the guy they remember. By the way, he beat Zach Calzada, who has now been rumored to be the third string quarterback at Auburn. Of course, he's been hurt, so of course he's the third stringer. But people saw Max play the best game he played all year. That was the best game he played all year, and he barely beat us last year. That's what Aggies remember. Well, here's the thing. The problem is that you go watch the rest of his game, he wasn't very good. Did he turn the ball over? He didn't throw interceptions, right?
He got on the field.
But he didn't create big explosive plays. His receivers sometimes did. Butay's a badass.
Well, that's the thing,
right?
And that's, I don't know who their offensive coordinator was last year. What's his name when the coordinator that went to Carolina?
Yeah, no, he was long gone.
Yeah.
But I guess my point is the guy. If you watch him again, if you go back and watch his tape from last year, he's a guy that holds the ball and waits till somebody's open. His receivers were big time players at LSU. They're big time players here, right? We've got big time receivers. Don't get me wrong, but it's about being safe. That's his MO. Haynes, you're right. Look, there's a chance that Haynes might throw a couple more picks than Max. But Haynes is also going to produce 5 times the number of big plays. Not 2 more big plays, 5 times the number of big plays as Max. He is. And that's not only going to be with his feet, that's going to be with his arm. Because he will give receivers the chance to go make a play, even sometimes when the coverage is tight. And I like that.
He's going to give the receivers a chance.
If it's one-on-one, why not give it to your guy that's got an advantage?
I understand that, but We have a
That's
solid.
football.
We've been talking about how great our defense could be this year.
Yeah.
Let's not put them in bad situations.
Sure.
Let's win the close games. Let's
Sure.
we don't have to go out there and outscore them this year.
Look, but here's the problem.
Our future's bright. We know that.
Here's the problem. If you want to win, and I'm
That's
not
what coaches
listen.
listen to me.
And here's the thing, as a coach, you're out to win it all this year, right? You want to win every freaking game, and if you want to win every game, then you're gonna have to be explosive on offense at times.
Well, you have to make adjustments.
You
have to make
explosive on offense at times. You're not gonna go
Those
beat.
explosive plays will happen. You have the guys like Aggie that can make it something out of nothing. That's an explosion. It doesn't have to be a 50-yard bomb down the middle of the field.
You better stretch the field. You better go stretch the field.
Now, what I'm saying also, and you and I talked about it, if you have 2-3 quarterbacks that are all about the same level,
Yeah.
I'm believing. Let's get the young guy. Let's get him in there. Let's get him some reps. We're playing Sam Houston first. I like to see him on the field quite a bit for that one.
I wouldn't be surprised if Connor's getting reps throughout the year in games that are out of hand. Instead of the backup,
Well, I'm just saying.
Max Johnson, instead of Max.
I'm just saying, if you have this future, our future's pretty much right now, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? I mean, Max, look, Connor's definitely got the best, just pure ability to throw the football. He's got it. From different.
Who's an NFL quarterback on the roster right now? Come on.
Oh, I think Hayes could be an NFL quarterback. I think Hayes has got enough.
I don't think he has a size. He looks a little frail to me. I mean, maybe. We have to look at it. I mean, he's got the speed. I'm just saying, he's got the speed. You know, you like his arm. I don't like his arm that much, but all right.
And he's a coach's kid, man.
Well,
He lives, breathes,
Max
drinks.
is Big Bad Brad's son.
Yeah.
Big
Bad Brad is not a coach, by the way. Big Bad Brad
is
is
a
not
Super
a
Bowl
coach.
winning quarterback. Is a
He is.
Super Bowl
He is.
winning quarterback.
You know who works harder than the quarterback? The coach. Let me just tell you that.
Tell over on that.
Except for Edo. Maybe Sark. He likes to drink. Look, all right, over on this rating then. Win total 8.5. 8.5. All right, so let's go through this. And, you know, we're not going to spend a lot of time on Sam Houston, but they were 11-1 last year. Their only loss was in the quarterfinals of the playoffs to Montana State. You know, they only failed to score 40 points on 3 occasions. When they beat SFA, they still won on that one, right? BDA, probably enjoyed BDA, right? Sure. They scored 35 in a win against Abilene Christian, so they almost scored 40. And then in the playoffs loss. Those are the only times they didn't score 40. So at the very least, this team is going to try to challenge this defense.
Try. And I hope they did. I want to see that. I want to see our defense get challenged. I mean, we're going to win the game. I mean, I feel about 99.9% sure.
By 40?
With Sam's offense and the way they're going to try to move the ball, their offense might be 3 and outs like Kent State I thought was going to happen last year.
Yeah.
He did turn into that later on in the game. But, yeah, I mean, we could win by 35, 40 points.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. This game's not going to be close. They're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to stand up physically to those.
People can see the speed that we have on our team, the size and speed. It's a huge difference between what we're going to have. I mean, Sam Houston's a great D2 school, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? It's a FCS school, but they're not going to have the size or speed. I mean, the first quarter, the first couple of plays, they might be pumped up and stick with them for and that adrenaline's going to let go.
And to add to that, they're replacing the quarterback and their top rusher. This is going to be a beatdown. A beatdown. 45 points. I'm going to up the ante.
I don't know about that.
We got Ags State in the second game. They were 8-4 last year. Lost to Miami and the Raging Cajuns twice. That's it. That's pretty good. Western Kentucky in the bowl game. You know, they had some good wins. Coastal Carolina. Look, they play UNC in week 1 at the same time that we're playing Sam, right? And
Don't give UNC a run for the money.
UNC, I think, is starting a freshman quarterback. Is that right? Is that what Mac said the other day?
Yeah.
So there you go. So the first start ever in college. Look, App State's a solid program.
Yeah, they're very solid.
They're a solid program. And they've got their quarterback coming back who was a Clemson recruit.
Right.
Not a Clemson recruit from back in 2019. 2005.
Right.
I'm talking about Clemson recruit from their heyday in 2017. So it's not like they don't have any talent over there. They're a good, solid program. They have produced big time games against big time programs. That's Michigan. I'm sure everybody said that 1,000 times.
Oh, yeah.
This is still going to be a beatdown.
When you say beatdown, what are you talking?
I'm talking that they're going to lose by 30 points. Yeah. Look, they don't have their D line and offensive line will not be able to handle our offensive line and defensive line. They don't have the size up front to handle what we're going to do. Period.
If that right there, if you're right about that one game, saying 30 points at State, we're going to have a really strong season.
Okay.
Because I'm telling you, App State's a better program than what people are giving them credit for. I mean, they play tight games,
Yeah.
play good teams. They've been top 25 quite a few times the last few years. So I'm telling you,
Yeah.
you're thinking 30 points. I'm not thinking 30. I'm thinking maybe 20, 22. I mean, App State's going to score some points. They got some talent. They got some speed. You know, watch them.
I'll say this:
They're mountain boys. You got to watch those mountain boys. What they do?
no less than 25.
You just said one from 30 to 25.
I said no less than 25. Oh, yeah, stick with 30. Game number 3, we get Miami. 7-5 last year. Obviously, new coaching staff. They fired Manny Diaz, and they bring in Mario Cristobal. Right now, Mario Cristobal's been in Florida before, but he was 27-47 at FIU. So he's getting a lot of credit, I guess, for his time in Oregon. But his time in Oregon was also surrounded by a very poor Pac-12 sort of conference, right? I mean, football in general in the Pac-12 was pretty poor. And so, he's getting a lot of credit for that, but he did beat Ohio State last year, right?
Oh, yeah, Oregon, yeah.
Right. So, he's a guy that's been able to recruit. He's done some good things. And he's got a quarterback that everybody, in Tyler Van Dyke, that everybody thinks is a first-round pick next year. Okay?
He wasn't even the starting quarterback last year when the season started. They had that fifth-year senior guy coming back or whatever. The guy from Houston. The guy from Houston. King.
Look, he played pretty well. On a mediocre team with a mediocre coach, but he is now again on a mediocre team, maybe with a better coach, but he's also learning a new system, right?
Yeah.
That team couldn't run the football last year to save its life. They could not move the football. Now, that's why Tyler Van Dyke became a name, right? Because all they would do is throw the ball everywhere. But this year they lost their 2 top wide receivers.
Yeah.
So who is he throwing the ball to? Who is he handing the ball off to? I just don't understand how people are giving them all this credit because of the one guy. Sure, maybe he's great, but if he doesn't have any weapons around him, he ain't gonna be great.
Yeah. I don't even know what his offensive line is like. I don't have any idea what Miami's D is like. But the Aggies, I'd say the Aggies back 2 touchdowns in that game.
This team is not going to run on the Aggies front line. They're not going to run the football against the Aggies. And because of the fact that they won't run the football against the Aggies, eventually we will start just bringing pressure.
Miami always has speed. Always speed.
Oh, yeah, there ain't no question.
There might be some turnovers. That might be what keeps them in the game. Is that turnover chain they have.
I think this is an Aggie win. I think our defense makes this an Aggie win.
So we're saying
3-0. 3-0. This is the one that I think is the team. This is the game. Arkansas. Arkansas was 9-4 last year. Obviously, they beat Texas, they beat A&M, they beat Mississippi State, LSU, Penn State. Those are a lot of good big-time wins for a program that's not used to having good big-time wins. As a matter of fact, 2 years ago, they didn't have a single SEC win. Right? Sure, they lost to Bama. They lost to Auburn. They probably shouldn't have lost to Auburn. They lost to Ole Miss by 1. And they lost to Georgia. Look, we talked about Louis and his boys over at Texas earlier. They want you to focus on the fact that, hey, we had a backup quarterback in the game, and hey, we started to come back in the second half and just couldn't close it out. We just ran out of time. What they failed to tell everybody is that the Arkansas Razorbacks were whooping our ass until they lost their starting quarterback. When KJ Jefferson went down, is when they were all of a sudden unable to move the football offensively. And even when he came back and he was limping around, they didn't have that same threat of the running quarterback, right? Hornsby couldn't get it done because at that point the defense just pinned his ear back. They said, "Look, we're going to stop the run. If this guy can throw it on us, the heck with it." And he couldn't.
Yeah.
So there's two parts to that story. That's sort of what I'm saying. I think this game is the game that probably people don't give enough credit to because Arkansas is tough, man. And they believe in what they do. They're going to be physical up front with their offensive line. They got three different running backs they can hand the ball to. KJ Jefferson is a beast of a man. They're going to run quarterback power. They're going to run zone. They're going to run zone read.
They're going to play good strengths.
They're going to do some play action pass off of it.
That's what they do.
And they're going to go over the top.
Now, they don't have Burks anymore, but the thing is, Jimbo got out coached last year. I think we can both say that. Not just in this game, but in most of the losses and some of the wins, he got out coached. And that's what Jimbo he has to be critical of himself and go, "Hey, man, you need to look in the mirror and say, I need to do better. We have more talent in this team. I'm letting them dictate what, we're making their offensive line that is good. We're making them look better."
I'll tell you one thing that this year we may be in better position to deal with, right? From what I've seen from DJ Durkin, he does a lot less of all that moving up front, stunting, and different things that sometimes causes those big gaping holes in the running game.
Yeah.
And with our guys, as big as we are up front and the guys we're going to play, we may not be as good at rushing the passer, but we should be real strong against the run.
I'll tell you, our secondaries will help our pass rush out a lot because that secondary is fast. If we can get a little bit of pressure on, I think White and Cooper might get more pressure than what our.
And I think that's where it comes into play because on third downs or passing downs, that's where Durkin's going to fire up the blitzes, right?
That's what I'm saying.
It may not be the front four that's getting the pressure.
We're used to, like the linebackers getting, or the defensive ends getting the pressure. We're going to have.
It's not Clemens and Johnson, right?
Yeah. We're going to have, guys coming up the middle.
McKinley will create pressure up the middle.
That's where the quarterbacks take pressure up the middle.
Antonio Johnson's going to be coming off the edge, right? Even, like you said, Cooper, White, all those guys.
I would not say Damani. Damani looks big and fast. He can get in there.
So
we're going to get pressure somehow. I think it's kind of not to.
They'll have a harder time establishing the run and running. No, not establishing. At will, like they did last year. So.
Like I said, it all comes down to coaching to me. If Jimbo doesn't try to outthink himself and just plays our game, says, "Hey, man, our guys are better than us. Let's line up. Let's hit them." We know what they're going to do. They're going to have to run. I wouldn't say trick plays so much, but they're going to have to run play action in order to get the ball down there because their receivers aren't going to beat our defensive backs.
It'll be a close game, though.
Oh, yeah, it'll be close. I don't want to. What do you call him? You call him an Aggie win?
I'm calling this one a toss-up for now. We'll see where I end up at the end. All right. Mississippi State, 7-6 last year. We all know those stories here. And they beat A&M 26-22 at Kyle Field. You want to talk about getting out coached? This is where Jimbo probably did his worst job of the year, right here against Mike Leach. This team returns Rodgers at quarterback. Obviously, he's a huge part of this offense. And they're going to spread it around. It doesn't matter what wide receivers, running backs.
Like everybody?
All but one, right? They lost their left tackle. But they always do well with the offensive line, and Mike Leach's system, he just replaces those guys and coaches them up. That's not going to be a problem for them. Year 3.
Mike Leach is a good coach, man.
That defense was a lot better. That team was a lot better defensively than people give him credit for.
Mike Leach he's a good coach. And he did it at Tech, he did it at Washington State. He's a Mississippi State.
On the other hand, No question, Aggies are the more talented team. No question, Aggies are the more talented team in this matchup. They should beat Ole Miss. Jimbo's got to figure out what he's going to do against this defense, which last year he could not figure out. They came with a 3-man line, and so needless to say, this is a game we should win. This is a game we should win 100%. And we're more talented, and all those things are true. But boy, we better show up.
I agree with you. I mean, it's a toss up for you. What do you have? It sounds like you'll be doing that a lot on these games.
Yeah.
Not a good sign.
I'm going to give you a number at the end.
Not a good sign.
I'm going to give you a number at the end. Bama. Obviously 13-2 last year with a loss to A&M and a loss to Georgia in the national championship game. Look, this Bama team everybody believes it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, man. These guys are getting a ton of freaking credit. They're number one in the country already. Everybody's got them going back to the national championship. Alabama's not going to win the SEC West. I'm saying it right now. Saying it right now. Calling it.
What?
They're not going to win the SEC West. Listen to my words. They will not win the SEC West. Let me tell you why. Look, these guys from last year's team lost their best offensive lineman, their best two offensive linemen from an offensive line that wasn't very good.
Okay.
They're replacing one of those guys, they left tackle specifically, with a transfer from Vanderbilt. Always a good sign, right? Vanderbilt. On top of that, if you go look at their skill position players, they lost their tailback. They're replacing with a transfer from Georgia Tech that didn't run for 800 yards. And everybody's got him as a first team All-American. The guy didn't run for 800 yards last year. They got two wide receivers that are transfers. One from Georgia that didn't have 600 yards last year for Georgia. Another one is from Louisville. And he didn't have 600 yards at Louisville last year. That's against lesser competition in a lesser program. These are the guys that everybody expects to replace first-round wide receiver Jameson Williams, third-round wide receiver Mechie.
Yeah, he was hurt. That's one reason he went third round.
Yeah, and he was hurt. And then, not to mention, a tailback that also got drafted, and people are giving props to in the NFL right now, in Robinson, right?
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, they don't have those guys in that room anymore. And if you look at the last 4 years, they've lost Waddle, Smith, the two guys I just mentioned, Judy, and the guy that killed somebody in Oakland. You know, like Ruggs, right? I mean, all these guys that have all been first rounders, by the way, right?
Yeah.
They don't have those other guys now. Yeah, they got a Heisman winning quarterback. A Heisman winning quarterback with no weapons.
They have a good defense this year. I think they'll be better on defense this year. And you went through it earlier. They got 20 players in the first, second, and third teams in the SEC. There's a lot of talent in Alabama.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that would get drafted. Alabama will probably win the West. That's I'm saying, yeah, I like Alabama to win the West because I don't see them. They don't let up in games like we do. He might get out coached every now and then, but for the most part, he beats the Mississippi States. He beats the
I'll give you that.
Arkansas. He beats the teams.
I'll give you
even though it's a close game.
They almost lost to Auburn last year, by the way.
He still wins it. So that's
They
right.
almost lost to Auburn last year.
Over again.
Here's the other thing.
He lost to Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State.
Here's the other thing.
He didn't.
No, he didn't. And you're right. And look, absolutely, 100%. You know how I feel about Nick Saban. Best coach in the history of college football. The dude is a beast, right?
No.
But I'll tell you a couple of things here. This team has transformed into from his old school, all discipline, all defense type of teams to now wide open. Yeah. The problem with that is that in that process, that defense has also gotten worse, right? That defense hasn't put up the same numbers over the last several years.
Well, they're on the field now.
Now, mind you, Will Anderson is a monster.
Yeah.
The guy's going to be top 5 pick in the draft next year, if not number 1. He is an absolute beast, and he's going to have a monster of a year. But the pieces around him aren't the same pieces that used to be there. Their talent levels come down just a little bit, especially on that side of the ball. Well, now I'm saying on both sides of the ball.
And their talent levels come down. The only teams that are stuck up are A&M and Georgia.
Right. Ohio State.
Arkansas, Mississippi State. Don't get me wrong. They don't have the talent about them. Arkansas doesn't. Mississippi State doesn't. Ole Miss doesn't. Auburn doesn't. The talent level there's a big discrepancy between Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State. Then it comes right down there. You got A&M, Clemson, and some other teams that. Then you got the Arkansas, who are well coached. These are well coached teams. Mississippi State, they could all beat Alabama on a given Saturday.
And I'm not going to say Sam Pittman's a better coach than Saban. I'm not going to say that. I will
say Arkansas is going to beat Alabama. You're saying that.
But what I will tell you is that the coordinators in Arkansas are better than the coordinators in Alabama. O'Brien's a horrible freaking coordinator, right? And so, yeah, maybe Pittman's not as good as Saban, but his 2 coordinators are pretty damn good.
So you're saying Saban's a great coach, the best ever, but he can't recognize a bad offensive coordinator? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
I am saying
that.
That's what it takes to be a great coach.
I am saying that.
The leader of the team.
Sometimes you think you can do it all.
Yeah.
So there you go. Here's one more kicker for you in this game against Alabama, by the way.
Yeah.
They have it out for us. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 more kickers.
Yeah.
They play Arkansas the week before. And why is that important? And actually, I believe they play Arkansas the week before and Tennessee the week after.
Arkansas is going to beat them up.
That's why it's important.
Arkansas will beat them up because they're going to be at that defensive line. So we got. If you're a good coach like, hopefully Jimbo is, he's watching Arkansas beat up Alabama, saying that defensive line's going to be beat up. Man, why don't we try to run the ball on them?
Physicality. Yeah.
That's just the way.
Look, I don't know that we're going to beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. I don't know that. I don't think we do, as a matter of fact. I'd probably go the other way on that. I think it's going to be a close game, closer than people think.
Is it going to be a high-scoring game again?
No, and I think it's going to be led by defense. And at that point,
our defense is better than that.
Right? I do think so also. But their offense is better than ours, so like it offsets, right? And
is their offense better?
Not more talented.
That's what I'm saying. You said they're all wide open. They got us at one position.
They're wide open.
Or do they not?
They're wide open.
I'm saying in offense, where do they have us? And that's quarterback, right? O-line, we got them. Running backs, I think we have them.
All right, so
Achane against any running back, I'm taking Achane.
I'm saying it's a game.
Smith and those freshman receivers.
I'm saying it's a game. That's all I'm saying.
I don't like an A&M's chances the more I think about it.
South Carolina is 7-6, by the way. With a close loss to a pretty good Kentucky team, right?
Yeah.
Now they did lose to Mizzou, so that takes a little bit of the luster away from that season. But here's the thing. For me, this team's going to be better than it was last year. South Carolina's going to be better than that. Look, the quarterback alone is going to be a huge difference. Spencer Rattler is 3 times the quarterback than anybody they started on that team last year. There is no question about that. However, up front, offensive line, defensive line, can they hold up?
No. They need Beaver needs some more years to recruit. He's going the right direction, but
yeah, they're moving in the right direction. They are not there, especially up front. That's going to be another game that's going to be a beatdown. Beatdown. Ole Miss 10-3 last year. look, they had a great year. They lost to Bama, Auburn, and then Baylor in the bowl game, right? They beat A&M 29-19. And the truth of the matter is that game really wasn't even that close. But this team was based on offense, right? It was offense, and they lost Matt Corral, which was the heart and soul of that team,
Right.
and they lost their top running back early. I don't think that this team is going to be very good this year. I think that they're going to be one of the two worst teams in the SEC West.
Really?
I truly believe that. And I understand the respect that everybody has for Kiffin and the things that he does offensively, especially. He couldn't hire a defensive coordinator after Durkin left. His own brother told him no. His own brother said, no, thank you. He showed up. He's like, man, I've had enough of you, and left.
Good point.
I just believe that team this year, without Matt Corral as the engine, is going to have a hard time. No matter who that quarterback ends up being, whether it's Jackson Dart or
Dart.
the incoming or the returning sophomore.
I'm pretty sure Jackson Dart will get to nod. I think Ole Miss will be a better team than what you think they are. Lane Kiffin has a way of he just makes it happen. It's crazy. I don't know about one of the two worst teams in the West, but there's so much. I don't think the West has like a stellar team like Vanderbilt, Missouri, and all those teams. You put Vanderbilt, Missouri, and South Carolina in the West. You put those three teams in the West, and Auburn gets to play all three of those. I think Auburn might win 3 games.
I don't think so.
I'm just saying.
So Ole Miss, I think, is a win. Florida, 6-7 last year, obviously led to the Mullins firing. They hired Napier. Look, they've got Anthony Richardson. This story sounds a lot, by the way, like the Miami story. Right? Except they probably have a better group of athletes all around. But they got Anthony Richardson, who played some last year, but he couldn't even win the starting job last year.
Right.
No matter different coaching staff, all those things. The guy's got all the measurables. But what has he done?
Right.
He hasn't done a thing.
No, the same thing with the guy from Miami. Go ahead, Jones.
So now at this point, we do get him a little bit later in the year. We got to figure out where Napier has him at that point. But to me, will Napier be an improvement over Mullins? Probably. Because Mullins had lost that team. I think he had lost the team.
I like Mullins going to Florida at first. I liked him at Mississippi State. I thought he was a great coach.
But once again, Richardson doesn't have any players around him. There's no proven talent at wide receiver. Their top 2 wide receivers are gone. The best running back's gone. Their offensive line still needs some work. They don't have a lot of depth at any one of those positions. Defensively, they don't have a lot of depth. They've lost a lot of because Mullins, for all he did offensively, he did not recruit great to the defense, right? That wasn't his thing. So those super awesome Florida defenses have been gone. And the talent on that side of the ball has been depleted. They still got some guys, don't get me wrong. I don't think they match up. I think that Napier probably gets his team rolling in a better direction than Mullins was at the end of last year. But I don't think they can compete athlete to athlete with the Aggies. What's your thought?
So you're saying A&M?
I'm saying A&M.
I think Florida's going to have talent. They always do, but I think A&M won the game.
Specifically, I say A&M because I think our defense is going to put a hurting on that offense. Auburn, 6-7 last year. Look, they tried to fire Coach Harsin after year 1 this summer.
Mm-hmm.
That offense, sure, they got Bigsby back, right? But who's the quarterback? It's probably Ashford, the transfer from Oregon, right? TJ Finley just got arrested for something.
Good for him.
Yeah. They don't have any proven wide receivers. I mean, D-line is their strength, right? Their whole team is probably around that D-line. Everybody's giving that D-line a lot of credit because they think that defense is going to be really good. They also lost their defensive coordinator, who is known for being a very, 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 very good defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I mean they do have talent. Don't get me wrong. I think that coach is in a bad situation. That team's gonna fall apart this year.
I don't expect them to get to 6 wins.
Yeah, I see them being just stellar. I see the coach getting fired this season.
That's a win. UMass. We're not even going to talk about this. 1-11 last year. They shouldn't even play that
That's
game.
the worst team.
As a matter of fact, they shouldn't play that game. It's ridiculous that they scheduled that game.
Why did they schedule that game. You couldn't find anybody else better. You couldn't get SMU or TCU or some other Texas school.
Last one, LSU, 6-7 overall last year. They beat A&M 27-24 in the last game of the season. Look, and they did it with half their roster not even on the field, right? Like half their team had already quit.
Ed Orgeron's a great coach.
Max Johnson wasn't even the starting quarterback, by the way. Max Johnson was not the starter for LSU last year. Their starter got hurt. Does that sound familiar? Aggies have been using that as an excuse for every loss for last year. LSU lost their starting quarterback, their first round draft pick wide receiver, their best offensive lineman, two of their best defensive linemen, their two best corners. I can go on.
They covered the spread.
And they won. So they fired Edo, hired Fake Kelly.
Fake Kelly.
He does a good impersonation of Southern. Mm-hmm. Look, there's no question that Brian Kelly's a better coach than Edo. There is no question.
It's just going to take them some time to get that team built up. So Aggies should win that game.
Look, they may. I think they have the best wide receiver in the SEC in Buche, by the way. I do. And if the pieces around him are all, I think they may have the best wide receiving group in the SEC. Who's more talented, LSU or A&M right now? No question.
We just talked about it. There's maybe 3 teams in the whole nation that are more talented than A&M right now.
There is no question. That is fact.
Yeah. I don't even know if those 3 teams. It's really close. I mean, it's pretty. We're not far behind Ohio State.
In Jimbo's first year, though, they were saying, "Oh well, he's the first year. He's going to have some losses. They're still learning the system. They're bringing talent." What happens if we lose to LSU this year?
We'll give Jimbo a raise and we'll keep going
on. Yeah. So
what are you saying? How many games the Aggies will win?
8.5 over under. I'm going over. I think it's pretty clear that I'm going over.
10-2, 9-3, 11-1. What are you saying? Sounds to me like you're 9-3. That's about where I'm at. I'm about the 10-2, 9-3. Anything less than, I say, if we lose more than 9 games this year, I'm gonna put Jim on the hot seat next year. I'll put them on there if he loses.
I don't know. We both know that Jimbo won't be on the hot seat. We both know that.
You heard it here.
But I'll say this. If we don't win 9 games this year,
that's a tough schedule. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the Sam is easy. App State, and UMass. I'd like to have more competition than that. But
if we don't, how about this? If we lose the game to Auburn, he should get fired. He should be fired. Right there, he shouldn't be allowed to leave the field.
Hot seat right now. I got you.
He shouldn't be allowed to leave the field if he loses to Auburn. I think it's a 10-win team. I think it's a 10-win team. And maybe 11 if Jimbo wasn't calling the plays.
That's what I'm saying. He's gonna with Jimbo and them. He doesn't. We've lost games that we shouldn't lose just about every year, except for the year we have one.
If Haynes King is starting the game against LSU, we're an 11-win team.
I gotta see him play the first week or two now. I'd love to come back and make adjustments to this pick because I'm honestly thinking
I'm going over.
I don't see Haynes King starting the whole season or max. I see Connor getting in there at some point.
I'm going over, and I'm going to tell you the only reason why. The very only reason why.
Wow.
The reason we're going over 8.5 is because we, the Aggies, are more talented than every team we face this year. Did you hear me say that? Every team we face this year that's on our schedule. Who does that include, Corey?
UMass.
It does include UMass. You're right. Thank you. Questions from the tailgate brought to you by Frida Homes, Building Aggie Dreams, FridaHomes.com. Get online. Go see what they got to offer. All right, question 1. All right, less than 2 weeks from game 1. Who will be the offensive and defensive MVPs for the Aggies?
I'm going all chalk on this one. I'm going Achain and Johnson.
That's so easy.
I mean, that's what I'm doing.
That is so easy. But I'm gonna look. I do think it's A-Chain. I think it's A-Chain 100% offensively. He is going to be the offensive MVP. He's probably going to rush for 1,400 yards and catch another 500 yards.
Yeah, he impressed me catching the ball, by the way.
Yes.
That's impressive.
Defensive MVP, not because I don't think that Antonio Johnson's the guy, but I'm going to change it up just to give another
McKinley Jackson. P.J. Demani.
Edgerrin Cooper.
Really?
How about that one?
That's a good one.
You like it?
Yeah, I like it.
There you go. All right. What game is going to make or break the season this year?
We already talked about it.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be Miami game. I'm giving us a win on that one. I think that should be an easier win than what most people are thinking.
Yeah.
Arkansas, because it's so early in the season. You lose a game after your fourth week, and you're 3-1. You're dropping the polls. The fan base is like, oh man, here we go again. We're gonna, I think that's what's going to happen. What do you think?
No, I think it's Arkansas. I think 100% it's Arkansas. I think look, Miami's going to be your first test, but ultimately those guys are going to lose to the Aggies, right? We're going to win that game. And then we're going to come to the next week and it's Arkansas. And if you beat Arkansas, if you come down and beat Arkansas, you are setting yourself up for SEC West title run because they are the second best team in the SEC West.
What do you think about this place?
Oh, yeah. So today we ordered food from a Mr. Beast Burger. That place sucks. That place sucks. Can you tell me they said they
French fries.
loaded French fries, right? Loaded French fries or whatever.
All cheese.
They put a slice of American cheese on top with some pickles.
The kind of slice you put on your, like make a grilled cheese. Like a little,
Yeah,
it was nothing.
straight out of the package, just threw it on the top of the French. It wasn't even melted.
Melted.
All right, Gigamax, AP, Corey, signing out from the tailgate.